All right, so now we're going to talk about some cons. First con is batteries. All right, and granted, the battery life in modern pistol optics has come a very, very long way just in the last decade, really. I remember when pistol mounted optics really first started coming on the scene in more of a defensive application. This was back in like the 20 teens, right? The battery life on the original optics was ridiculously like suffering compared to modern optics battery life and things like that. But you still have to change out the batteries. I have a different RMR on a different gun. It's actually on my fighting rifle. That one's actually a battery powered Trijicon SRO, and that guy, I replace the battery once a year, even though like I don't need to replace it. It's still good, and I always write with a Sharpie the month and the year that I swapped out the batteries. That's definitely something to do. No matter what optic you're running, if it has a battery, you should be marking and rotating out those batteries very regularly. I would argue well before the expiration of that battery, just to make sure when you pick up that gun, the battery's going to be good. But it's just one more thing to keep up with and one more thing to juggle. And if your battery dies in your optic and you really, really, really train with that optic, it's going to be more of a hindrance than if you were to just train with your irons all the time, because your irons are just going to be there, right? You don't have to replace the batteries on your irons. So batteries is definitely a con. It's just something to keep up with, all right? Another thing is fragility. Now, I almost should put an asterisk on this one too, just simply because modern optics like this dual illuminated Trijicon RMR, this particular optic has been through, it's been through four tactical games. It's been through four tactical games and multiple training classes as well. It is a extremely tough optic, and I do not baby this thing. It is a very, very tough optic. But not all optics are created equal, and like the really, really tough, really good ones, they cost a pretty penny, which we'll get into that in a little bit. But they are arguably, not even arguably, like this is a fact. Any optic is going to be more fragile than iron sights. That's why I have fragility up here, because it is a much more refined and precision implement compared to iron sights. All right. They can break. The screws can break. The electronics package can break if you're running something that has like some sort of electronics in it. Again, my optic that I use for most applications on a pistol, it is dual illuminated, which that has some drawbacks too, which might as well talk about though. That the brightness adjustment on a battery powered optic is definitely clutch, especially for low light shooting. This is non-adjustable. It's just adjustable based on the ambient light that's around. And in the absolute absence of ambient light, there's a tritium power source inside the optic that will power the reticle in absence of all light. So not being able to adjust the brightness settings for different applications, that's a drawback for this optic for sure. Another con is bulk. Now, this little bitty Trijicon RMR is not too huge, but there are other optics that people have been gravitating towards, specifically closed emitter type optics, that just seem to me like they're getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And not only is that just more to carry inside of your waistband, try and conceal it, all that stuff, but the bigger that optic is, I would argue that you're going to start having some diminishing returns on the reliability of the pistol, because the pistol is not cycling at the same velocity that it was designed to cycle in. So that can actually create some reliability issues too, depending on like if you have like a big old Mongo optic on your pistol. So another one, training curve. It is a meaningful training curve that you're going to have to very seriously consider to get good and reliable and repeatable with your optic. Just because when you pull up and present your pistol with the optic on there, it's just not as forgiving. There is just a meaningful training curve that you're going to have to realistically accept and work through just to make sure that you can be repeatable and reliable and consistent with your optic. Another one is aim reliability. So this is kind of related to the training curve, but I put it out as a separate con just because depending on, imagine you're in the worst day of your life, right? You are having to jerk your pistol for self-defense and something has gone terribly, terribly, terribly wrong. And let's say, for instance, you draw your pistol and your grip was tweaked just a little bit different because you're under an immense amount of stress. Maybe you're having to draw from an awkward position that you are not really used to drawing from. Maybe you're having to draw in a very compressed environment and you just can't get that same consistent grip on the pistol. And you present your pistol and the optic's not there, right? If you're carrying with an optic on your pistol, have you really trained through all these different environments to make sure that when you draw your pistol, no matter what, if your grip was a little bit inconsistent or your presentation was a little bit inconsistent, do you have redundancies baked into the way that you handle your pistol that helps you find your optic reticle quickly? Do you have that? You need to ask yourself that. So there is an aiming reliability concern there that is less presented with irons, in my opinion. Because if you shift that optic, or you shift that gun just a little bit, that optic, that reticle is just going to disappear. You know what I mean? And you need to have fail-safes in place that help you quickly diagnose and shift that optic to where your reticle is going to appear. As opposed to iron sights, if you shift that gun around a little bit, you can still always see your front sight. You know what I mean? It doesn't just disappear. So if you make a little slight adjustment, you can still see that front sight, and then you can move that front sight where it needs to be. All right. So cost. Yes, there are cheaper optics out there, but again, are those cheaper optics going to make you sacrifice your reliability? Are they going to be bulkier? Are they going to be more fragile? Are the batteries going to be even suckier? All of these cons exist, even with the best optic out there. So just have that in the back of your mind, that if you're going to make the leap into having an optic on your pistol, make sure that you are spending the right amount of money to get a good one that is not going to fail you on the worst day of your life. And in order to get there, you're paying $5, $6, maybe even $700 for a really good quality micro pistol optic. So that is everything I'm going to lay out here for optics. As we can see, there are just as many cons as there are pros to optics. That's not to say that because the cons and the pros are kind of a wash, that we shouldn't do it. And that's also not to say because the pros and the cons are a wash, I'm going to, use the optic anyways, because this pro and this pro are more important to me than all of these cons. Then I guess it is what it is. And, it's your boat. You got to float it, right?